Heroes come in all shapes and sizes, but they all have things in common. There is a quest, a mission, a moment, there is conflict, maybe even a bad guy, and lastly, a world forever altered by their actions. This is true for space adventures with bounty hunters, role-playing games with bracers, and it is as true when the hero is of the feline variety. Monster Hunter and Stray have shown us that cats can be heroes, but no one takes it to the level as today's series does. So sit back and let me tell you everything you need to know about Cat Quest. Cat Quest is the work of the Gentle Bros, a 3-person studio from Singapore comprised of former Koei Tecmo artists and programmers. It began its life as Copycat, a dance rhythm game where you would copy the moves of different performers. But the team realized early on that none of them came from a music background nor had any such inclinations. So they really didn't know how to move forward and ensure that the game would click with audiences. So instead, with the simple truth that people can't get enough of cats, they looked to other sources of inspiration. And Cat Quest is very much a game with influences from both Eastern and Western games. As they describe it, Cat Quest is a combination of the overworld of Final Fantasy, the gameplay of The Legend of Zelda, and the open-world adventure of Skyrim. But it wasn't just the gameplay that was driven by this style fusion, as the visuals themselves sit somewhere between Saturday morning cartoons and anime, and was chosen specifically as a style simple and easy enough for a very small team to manage. Cat Quest released in 2017 to favorable reviews, and so, as is no surprise to anyone, work began on a sequel. The Gentle Bros pored over reviews, comments, and even fan mail to understand what the audience both loved and disliked about the first title, and used these lessons to drive the development of the sequel. The most notable feature to come out of this is the second protagonist and co-op gameplay, which was widely requested in the feedback for Cat Quest. Though this was but one of the many things they changed or added to the formula to ensure that Cat Quest II was as engaging, if not more, than its predecessor, and their effort paid off, as Cat Quest II released in 2019 to a very positive reception, the most common praise being that it improved upon every aspect of the first Cat Quest. The Gentle Bros continued with their iterative process for the third title in the series, the latest at the time of this video, Cat Quest III. But where Cat Quest II merely tweaked or adjusted features from the first game, for the threequel, they decided to explore each and every one and think of new ways of implementing them, to fully revamp their design, so that the end result still felt like a Cat Quest game, but was entirely new at the same time. Cat Quest III released on August 2024, and if the developers are to be believed, it's not the end of the road for the series. After all, cats famously have 9 lives. The Cat Quest games take place in the Cat Quest multiverse, across multiple timelines, but generally in the same overall region, that being the feline nation of Felingard. In the first Cat Quest, it's a standalone region, but Cat Quest II adds in a second nation, the Lupus Empire of Dogs. And Cat Quest III further expands the world by adding the pirates-infested Caribbean Sea to the mix. Felingard and its related nations are wild places of magic and wonder, where adventure can be found in every corner of the map, from monsters and brigands tormenting the populace to dungeons and caves with multitudes of challenges awaiting the most daring of felines, those not afraid to risk a life or two. In every Cat Quest, the main character is a young cat with a companion spirit. In the first one, our protagonist is one of the Dragonblood, an ancient lineage of powerful warriors that seemingly vanished many years before. He sets off across Felingard with Spiri, his spirit, to track down the fiend that kidnapped his sister. In Cat Quest II, our kitty is a king, one of 2 prophesied rulers, the other being the Dog King. They are awoken from deep slumber by Kiri, their new companion spirit, and set on a path to reclaim and unite their lands, as they've been taken over by Lioner and Wolfen, usurpers threatening to drown the world in war. Cat Quest III is an open seas adventure where our feline protagonist sets sail across the Caribbean Sea. He's a member of the Seeker people who once upon a time found the One Piece, the North Star, a valuable treasure set to make wishes come true. But not wanting anyone else to get their hands on their booty, they hid it. Now, many years later, our protagonist was found as a kitten by Captain Cappy, the latest spirit, and set on the path to finding the North Star and prevented from getting into the filthy claws of the Pirate King. The Cat Quest games are incredibly charming. They're bright and colorful and chock full of humor and endless cat and dog puns. So many that they become a language in themselves. The puns aren't just for comedic effect, but add personality to the world. Paws up, danger's coming. You did a pawsome job. His Meowjesty the King. These are but examples of how much the Gentle Bros have made the cat puns part of the world itself and the language and the culture. It's insane, but really fun. The gameplay is simple to pick up, but with a lot of depth, and every game adds to the mechanics. Attack, dodge, cast spells, and fight your way through hordes of rats, bats, dragons, and even skelemuts. Bosses are larger than life in both appearance and in their encounters. Cat Quest at a glance might seem like a cozy game, and in fact it can be, but it's not bereft of challenge. You can and will get your tail whooped and placed firmly between your legs. But you also have complete freedom of exploration. You can easily head into dangerous high-level areas early on and do your best to survive. The combat mechanics allow for you to challenge hard foes and survive if you're good enough. So the entry is easy, but the skill ceiling is fairly high. And with different equipment and magic and the ability to level them up with hard-earned cash, it means you can create a setup that is unique to you. The story of Cat Quest, much like its world and gameplay, may seem simple at a glance, but they all have interesting twists and don't shy away from dark subjects as they explore their key themes. For Cat Quest, it was love, Cat Quest 2 is unity, and for the latest, it's family. And being part of a multiverse means that familiar faces might show up in new and intriguing roles. There are references all over the place in Cat Quest 1 to 3, about 1/3 of the way there in terms of the narrative the Gentle Bros are cooking up. They've set up a 9-game storyline metaplot, and every game, while being a standalone experience, also contributes to the overall narrative, and even 3 games in, there are enough threads there for a whole lot of theories to explore. The co-op aspect of Cat Quest 2 adds an entire new layer to the experience, and even playing solo, you can still access the second character. You can swap between them freely and even give them different setups, making one character your melee-oriented fighter and the other one the ranged, each with their own loadout of spells too. Some offensive, some more for support. And then of course, Cat Quest 3's naval gameplay takes the exploration and adventure to a whole new level, one very reminiscent of Wind Waker, where you have countless islands with their own mysteries and treasures to find, while exploring an open ocean with many dangers waiting across the waves. There may even be a rubber ducky of doom or a feline version of a famous eldritch monstrosity, and a certain count usually found fighting a man with a whip. The beauty of Cat Quest's multiverse is that each title is a different timeline altogether, so you can play these games in any order you want. But given the rather iterative nature of the gameplay design, and how much each title has improved upon and even evolved its predecessor's mechanics, I would recommend playing these feline adventures in sequence. The references will land more easily, and you'll get more and more used to seeing the many cat puns, because the original Cat Quest had a bunch, but they've really turned them up a notch in the sequels. Cat Quest is an Ameowzing set of games, full of bright colors, phenomenal music, plenty of humor, and a frankly addictive gameplay loop. Give these games a try. I promise you they're as enticing as catnip and as comforting as a good scratching post.